So the first question to ask yourself, any of you, about what it is that is something you've been hanging on to for a very long time, that is a part of your life that you find almost impossible to change. Even though you know what to think and you've been to all the seminars, you've read the books, you've done the right things, you still find yourself going back and slipping back into habituated ways of behaving and thinking, right? And what I'm suggesting to all of you here today is that in moments, like for every single person who this morning decided to do something about their sugar intake based upon what we did yesterday, you have demonstrated that you are now about to embark on a new way of being. You've demonstrated it. Even if you just checked a package and seen how many sugar grams were in what it was you were going to eat and then ate it anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if you smoke Pakalolo every single day and you said, you know what, maybe this isn't good for my brain, but I think maybe tonight I'll just think about it tomorrow. You're on your way. Because we become what we think about, whether we want it or not. If you have a choice to think a thought that may or may not be true, but thinking that thought will keep you from where you want to go, versus thinking a thought that may or may not be true, but thinking that thought will at least give you a chance to get to where you want to be, why do we continue to take the first choice when the second choice is the only option we have for changing our conception of ourselves? But we train ourselves through this subconscious meme training that we've had to start believing in things that are going to keep us from ever getting where we want to go. If you have a choice to think a thought that may or may not be true, but it will keep you from getting to where you want to be, versus thinking a thought that may or may not be true, but will at least give you an opportunity to get there, what's the choice? This is what Lao Tzu was telling me over and over and over again. Teach people to take the excuses that they use and to put them into a context that may or may not be true, and ask them to reverse it, and then pick the one that will at least get you to where you want to be. The woman that sat next to me on the airport, I've never forgotten her. She was a photographer here on Maui. She was doing a wedding, and then she was on her way back. We were sitting on an airplane on American Airlines, and she put above the seat a whole bunch of photographic equipment, and I asked her about it, and I said, what do you do? She said, I'm a photographer. I said, do you like it? Do you enjoy it? She said, yes. She said, but I'll never get rich at it. And I said, would you like to get rich? And she said, of course, who wouldn't want to be rich? And I said, let me see if I understand you. You would like to be rich, but the thoughts you carry around in your head are, I'll never get there. What's the reverse of I'll never get there? I will get there. It's on its way. In fact, I'm already here. Why wouldn't you think that thought? So now, the second question is, where did these thoughts come from? They came from you. You bought into all of this stuff. All of us bought into this little stuff. The I'm too young or I'm too old. Like our age has something to do with what we can create or do in our lives. There's endless examples of people who've overcome that. You know, Louise Hay started Hay House Publishing at the age of 61. It's 22 years. She's 83. CEO of the largest publishing company in the world on spiritual and higher consciousness materials. And she started it at 61 because she didn't buy into that meme. So what I say to you is that there were kids in school next to you who were told the very same thing that you were told. Your siblings were told the same things by the same mother. Some of your siblings didn't buy into that at all. And some of them did, and some of them got scared. And what I say to you is, even though you didn't know it at the time, you were still making choices to buy it. If you're not willing to take responsibility for having chosen to carry around these beliefs, then you have no chance of overcoming them. You have as much chance as if you send your mother to me and I treat her and you expect to get better. It just isn't going to happen. So I say to you, the answer to the second question is, I chose them all. And I say that to you about everything, even your most serious illnesses. Take responsibility for it. It's yours. You own it. Don't feel yourself that you were being punished, that it was some karmic debt, that there was something bad happened in a previous life, and you were an axe murderer, and now you're getting this. Don't do that. But take responsibility for it, because the minute you say, I chose it, it's mine, I carry it around with me, I live with it, I breathe with it, I bleed it, which is what I do with my leukemia. That's what I do with it. It's mine, I own it, I took it on, and that's the only chance I have of saying goodbye to it. It's the only chance. I can blame this girl or that girl or my children or, all of the different traumas in my life. I can blame the environment. I can blame the food we eat, the mercury in the fish. I can blame it all, the Ayatollahs. It's got to be somebody else's fault. It can't be mine. I don't get leukemia. It's mine. I was a vibrational match to it. I take responsibility for it. And now the third question is, what are my payoffs? What do you think is the major payoff? I go through about 10 of them in the book. The payoff for using the meme, psychological payoffs, avoidance of doing what I came here to do. It's simply easier. Now here's the fourth question, and this is all I'm going to do. What would your life look like if you couldn't use those excuses that you've been using? If you just couldn't come up with them, if somehow I wired your brain in such a way that you could not think those three thoughts, what would your life look like? If you couldn't think the thoughts that you've been thinking that are keeping you from where you want to be, you would feel more joy, more accomplished. What I'm saying to all of you is that if you want to overcome any of the things that you think came to you as a result of abuse, abandonment, brokenness, despair, depressed parents, whatever it might be, certainly don't exclude that and just toss it out the window and say it's not relevant, but recognize that you just didn't have the strength then, but that was then and this is now.
What being open to everything means. Everything means just what it says, no exceptions. When someone suggests something to you that conflicts with your conditioning, rather than responding with, that's ridiculous, we all know that's impossible, say instead, I've never considered that before. I'll think about it. Open yourself up to the spiritual ideas of all people and listen with an open mind to crazy schemes and ideas that at first seem to be outrageous. If someone suggests that crystals can cure hemorrhoids, that natural herbs can lower cholesterol, that people will eventually be able to breathe underwater, or that levitation is possible, listen and be curious. Let go of your attachments to what you've been trained to believe. Open your mind to all possibilities. Because whether you believe something is possible or impossible, either way, you'll be right. How can that be true? Your agreement with reality and all that's possible determines what you'll become. If you're convinced that you can't become wealthy and famous or artistic or a professional athlete, a great singer, or whatever, you will act upon that inner conviction that prevents you from manifesting what you'd really like. All that you'll get from your effort is being right. When you need to be right, you're attached to your conditioned reflex of the way things are and always have been, and you assume they always will be. Releasing your attachments. Your attachments are the source of all your problems. The need to be right, to possess someone or something, to win at all costs, to be viewed by others as superior. These are all attachments. The open mind resists these attachments and consequently experiences inner peace and success. To release attachments, you have to make a shift in how you view yourself. If your primary identification is with your body and your possessions, your ego is the dominant force in your life. If you can tame your ego sufficiently, you'll call upon your spirit to be the guiding force in your life. As a spiritual being, you can observe your body and be a compassionate witness to your existence. Your spiritual aspect sees the folly of attachments because your spiritual self is an infinite soul. Nothing can make you happy or successful. These are inner constructs that you bring to your world rather than what you receive from it. If you think peaceful thoughts, you'll feel peaceful emotions, and that's what you'll bring to every life situation. If you're attached to being right or absolutely need something in order to be at peace or to be successful, you'll live a life of striving, yet never arriving. It's possible to have a burning desire, yet not have attachments. You can have an inner vision of what you intend to manifest and still detach yourself from the outcome. How? Consider this observation in A Course in Miracles. Infinite patience produces immediate results. It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? Infinite patience implies an absolute certainty that what you'd like to manifest will indeed show up in a perfect order and exactly on time. The immediate result you receive from this inner knowing is a sense of peace. When you detach from the outcome, you're at peace, and you'll ultimately see the fruits of your convictions. Suppose you had a choice between two magic wands. With wand A, you can have any physical thing you desire by simply waving it. With wand B, you can have a sense of peace for the rest of your life, regardless of what circumstances arise. Which one would you pick? A guarantee of stuff or inner peace for the remainder of your life? If you opt for peace, then you already have wand B. Simply have a mind that is open to everything but attached to nothing. Let it all come and go as it will. Enjoy it all, but never make your happiness or success dependent on an attachment to anything, any place, and particularly any person. In all of your relationships, if you can love someone enough to allow them to be exactly what they choose to be, without any expectations or attachments from you, you'll know true peace in your lifetime. True love means you love a person for what they are, not for what you think they should be. This is an open mind and an absence of attachment. In essence, I'm urging you to stop taking your life so personally. You can end any and all suffering by reminding yourself that nothing in the universe is personal. Of course, you've been taught to take life very personally, but this is an illusion. Tame your ego and absolutely free yourself from ever taking anything personally. Keep these thoughts in mind, particularly when you feel lost or unsure of your purpose. My purpose is about giving. I'll direct my thoughts off of me and spend the next few hours looking for a way to be of service to anyone or any creature on our endangered planet. This will bring you back to a realization that it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're able to give. In order to fully give and be of service and ultimately feel purposeful, you must be able to say yes when you ask yourself, do I really possess what it is that I wish to give away?
Generosity is taking all that manifests for you in your life, all that shows up for you, and being willing to share it. The thing that generosity does for us is that it liberates us from the concept of scarcity. And that's what we need to have in order to be manifestors. You become liberated from the idea of scarcity when you are willing to generously give of that which shows up in your life. If you're free enough to give what you have away, especially the things that you have that you treasure. Like a lot of people say, and I've been practicing this for quite a few years now, a lot of people say, well, you go through your clothes that you haven't worn in the last year or two. And if you haven't worn them, just take them out of the closet and give them to someone who can benefit from them. You can always find someone that will benefit from them, which is a wonderful thing to do. But a more powerful, spiritually enriching thing to do is to go through the clothes that you like the best and that you wear all the time, or that you wouldn't want to part with because they really mean so much to you, and give 10% of those away. Then you'll see the spiritual food, if you will, beginning to show up more and more into your life. When you can give away something of yourself that you seem to be attached to, because detaching from it is a big part of this business of manifesting. You see, when you become generous, you are really saying to the universe and to yourself very quietly, I know there are no limits to this divine intelligence. I know it's inexhaustible. I know it was never born. I know it can never die. And therefore, I am willing to allow it to flow through me. The divine intelligence is always moving. It is always flowing. Generosity takes you away from that idea that somehow there's a scarcity out there. And as you practice generosity of spirit. Detach from the outcome about what people are going to do with it, where it's going to go, how it's going to get used, whether it's going to be done for the right way or the way I think it should be done. Detach from that and give from your heart all that shows up in your life. Just let it keep flowing. And after a while, what happens is you are completely detached from how it works out. And you're not even attached to how things show up in your life. And all of those things that you used to be so concerned with when you were back there as an athlete and a warrior and asking for so much and being so concerned of whether you're going to get it and how it's going to show up, when you reach this level of generosity and gratitude in your life, what happens is miraculous. It no longer matters. And the irony here is that as it no longer matters to you, more and more shows up. Until it gets to a point where you can't even handle it all. And you just keep letting it circulate. And you're not concerned at all with where the next one is going to be. You have a knowing.
The idea that you have to be in competition with somebody else in order to feel good about yourself or in order to have the life that you want is just a myth. It's a meme. It's a cultural belief system that has been handed down. And I left that whole world of competition behind. I don't think there's anybody else out there on this planet that I'm in competition with. You know, the prestige, the money, the positions and all of that. All of those things have come, and even the amount of money. I make more money now than I've ever even dreamt that I could possibly make when I was in that competitive part of my life. And when you let go of it, in the recovery movement, and I'm a part of it. In the recovery movement, we say, let go and let God. Allow the great divine Tao, the divine mind, God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, allow it to be the guiding force in your life. And everything that you were chasing after before very likely will come chasing after you. It's a hard thing for people to believe, because we think we have to chase after it, we have to grasp it, we have to get a hold of it, we have to fight it. For me, it doesn't work that way.
You are so aware of the abundance and the unlimitedness of the divine intelligence that is in everything, that it can't be exhausted, that you're willing to allow it to continue to flow through your life. And then you get in synchronicity with that divine force. It's almost like you have a collaboration with fate. And as you collaborate, rather than fight, scarcity moves away in your life. That's how I give. When I give, I ask not for one explanation of how it's going to be used. The giving is done for the purpose of being generous, of the opening of the heart chakra to another human being.
Yes, ma'am. What is your first name? It's Dana.
One of the challenges that I have in my own personal development is that I love what you say. I want it. When I get challenged, I find it difficult for my heart. How do you get your heart and your brain to be congruent?
Thanks. That's a great question. You get your heart and your brain to be congruent the same way you learn to hit a backhand in tennis. The same way you learn how to play a game of chess. The same way you learn how to set your VCR. The same way you learn how to meditate. You do it not just with practice, but you do it with a commitment to it. And when you have a commitment to it, you are raising your energy level. And I'll speak a lot here in this program about energy and energy levels. And very often the reason our heart is not congruent with our thoughts is because we allow ourselves to become immersed in lowered energy fields. And we allow, people say to me so often, what you say sounds great, but
You don't know what it's like to be in my family. You don't know what it's like to be around my children. You don't know what it's like where I work. I'm in a world which is, noisy, which is rude, which is filled with hatred, and so on. What do I do about that? And I always say, who were the most influential people that ever walked on this planet? And what did they have to teach us? That's what you want to go to. What did Jesus say to us? What did Moses say to us? What did Buddha say? What did Muhammad? These weren't just great teachers. These were people who lived at a higher energy field, who sent love in response to hate, who sent joy in response to sadness, who had forgiveness in their hearts as the only thing that they had to give away. You practice that. You practice it, and you stop yourself when you find yourself moving. It's like with the backhand. When you go to hit your backhand, and all of a sudden you hit one and it goes over the fence, you don't keep doing that. You don't just keep saying, well, I just can't help it. It just keeps going over the... You stop and you make the correction instantaneously, at the moment. And if you start to practice it, before long, it doesn't take very long. It's like I told you about the woman who was the prostitute up in Seattle. I mean, she made a decision that she was no longer going to be a victim in her life, and she was no longer going to be, and she was addicted to one of the strongest substances and she changed overnight, and she's never gone back. She made a heart connection. And I always say, I repeat the prayer of St. Francis every day, 2 or 3 times a day. And when I repeat that prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Those are 7 chapters in Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And he said, O Lord, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be loved as to love, to be understood as to understand. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying to self that we are born to eternal life. I just repeat that, and there's such energy in that. Eknath Eswaran taught me about the energy in that prayer. He said, carry it around with you. Carry that around with you. Just keep it in your pocket. It's right here in my pocket. I always have it with me. And the energy is always there. And it's just a very subtle kind of reminder. And the other thing I would say about keeping congruence is to turn it over to something that you're connected to, but that is higher than the energy of your thoughts. Turn it over to God, in other words. Just turn it over and watch and see what happens.
Step 1. Identify your intention verbally and in writing, and develop a deep yearning for it. When you create a great longing for the experience of a peaceful family, everything will begin to happen to fulfill this yearning spontaneously and naturally. Rather than praying to a saint or God for a miracle, pray for the miracle of the inner awakening, which will never leave you. Step 2. Intend for all of your relatives what you intend for yourself. When anyone criticizes, judges, acts angry, expresses hatred, or finds fault with you, they're not at peace with themselves. Want this peace for them even more than you desire it for yourself. Let me say that again. Want this peace for them even more than you desire it for yourself. This doesn't require words or actions on your part. Simply picture the people in your family with whom you're not at peace and feel the peace you crave for them. Your inner speech will change, and you'll begin to experience the peaceful authenticity of both your beings. Step 3. Be the peace you're seeking from others. If peace is missing in your relationships with your family, it means that you have a place within you that's occupied by non-peace. Say a friendly hello to the non-peace and then let it go. You're sending a peaceful feeling to the non-peace feeling. The lower energies you're experiencing will be strengthened by your peaceful hi or hello and eventually vanish as the divine grows within you. The way to this peace is through any form of quiet and meditation that works for you, even if it's only a 2-minute respite during which time you're silent. Concentrate on the name of the divine, or repeat the sound of ah as an inner mantra. Step 4. Match up with the 7 faces of intention. If you've forgotten what the universal mind of intention looks like, it's creative, kind, loving, beautiful, always expanding, endlessly abundant, and receptive to all of life. This kind of spiritual energy will be transformative, not only for you, but also for your relatives. Your intention to be in peaceful relationships is now taking form, first in your mind, then in your heart, and ultimately, it will materialize. Step 5. Review all of the obstacles that have been erected on your path to familial peace. Listen to any inner dialogue that focuses on your resentment of others' expectations for you. Remind yourself that when you think about what you resent, you act upon what you think about, while simultaneously attracting more of it to yourself. Examine your energy field for your tendency to react to lower energies with more of the same, and give your ego a reminder that you'll no longer opt to be offended or need to be right in these relationships. Step 6. Act as if. Begin the process of acting as if what you intend to manifest is already true. See everyone in your family in the love and light that is their true identity. When someone asked Baba Muktananda, a great saint in India, "Baba, what do you see when you look at me?" Baba said, "I see the light in you." And the person responded, "How can that be, Baba? I am an angry person. I am terrible. You must see all of that." Baba said, "No, I see the light." This story is told by Guru Mai in a wonderful book called Kindle My Heart. So see the light in those others and treat them as if that's all you see. Step 7. Detach from the outcome. As long as you remain connected to intention and radiate outward the high energy, you've achieved your peace. It's not your place or your purpose to make everyone else in your family think, feel, and believe as you do. The likelihood is great that you'll see dramatic changes in your relatives as you teach them with your own persona how you intend to be treated. But if they don't change, and if they continue their non-peaceful ways, let go of your need to see them transformed. By letting go, you guarantee your own peace, and you dramatically increase the odds of helping others to do the same. Step 8. Affirm, "I attract only peace into my life." Say it over and over again. I attract only peace into my life. I say this silently to myself as an absolute truth with unbending intent on my part, and it works for me almost all the time. People respond to me with smiles, acknowledgments, friendly gestures, and kind greetings all day long. I also remind myself of the cogent observation from A Course in Miracles when I feel other than peaceful in any given moment with my family. They say in A Course in Miracles, I can choose peace rather than this. Step 9. Hold no grudges and practice forgiveness. The key to having peace in all of your family relationships is forgiveness. All of your relatives are simply doing what they've been taught to do over a lifetime, and the lifetimes of many of their ancestors. Shower them with understanding and forgiveness from your heart. And finally, step 10, as always, be in a state of gratitude. Rather than being in a state of non-peace concerning any family members, say a prayer of gratitude for their presence in your life and all that they have come to teach you. These are the 10 steps that you can practice each day as you work toward the absolute knowing that this intention will manifest for you. Remind yourself on a daily basis that you can never remedy a bad relationship by condemning it.